Good morning, everyone. Today, it's a sunny day in lovely Binghamton, New York. And I always report on the weather because it fascinates me. I moved back home to Binghamton, as everyone knows, from Colorado. And the Binghamton weather challenges me sometimes. But today, looks sunny, might get warm enough to walk the dog. We'll see. This is Yvonne DeVita. You're watching Smart Women Conversations. And I want to ask you today about your diet. And that word has so many connotations. That word just is one of this big boulder hanging over our heads sometimes because it can mean so many different things. And we misinterpret it, I think. Honestly, that's why my guest today, Lana Nelson, is going to help us with this. Welcome, Lana.
Hello, Yvonne. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
And we're also going to talk about this book. I'm halfway through it, folks. You can see I got my tabs in there. I always put tabs in my books, Lana. I just have to have those places where I can go back and look and see. And I may read a little bit from it, but let me
We're sisters, Yvonne.
See?
Look at all my little tabs here. Gotcha.
Awesome. Let me tell our audience a little more about you, because some of this is just fascinating. Lana Nelson, speaker, author, intuitive nutritionist, wellness educator. So ladies, intuitive nutritionists must be pulling at you right now, because I tell you all the time how intuitive you are. Well, what does it mean for your diet? Lana's going to tell us. Lana Nelson shatters the stereotype of a food intuitive. She began her life's work into healthy eating over 3 decades ago, long before it was fashionable. And it was out of desperation that she sought solutions only food can provide. Lana, that is just, I read that in some of what's in the book, and I'm like, this makes so much sense. Dealing with chronic pain, fatigue, and the garden variety of ailments so many people live with, Lana was determined to find the cause and solution for her deteriorating health. After years of trial and error, she discovered the solution was as close as her kitchen cabinet and refrigerator. It was her food. Honestly, we're going to talk a lot about that. She's a certified emotion and body code consultant. She's developed one of the easiest techniques on the planet to help anyone discover what foods are best for you. Now, in her bio, we're going to talk, Lana, I will share this page with them because this is fascinating stuff here, but in her spare time, and ladies, I urge you to share things like this because it makes you human. But she writes, in her spare time, Lana is wife to Dr. Bruce Nelson, mother to 12 adult children, and grandmother to 33. She loves to hike and garden, of course, experiment with food. Lana, we're going to touch on the whole 12 and 33 thing with the family because it all plays into what I think that you do. But what I would like to do most today is have our guests and the people watching understand what being a food intuitive is and a wellness coach and diet. You and I, before we started the recording, we said, that word diet. Let's talk about that. So talk about diet, that word, the word diet. I'm punching my hand because it's such a big word.
Yes, well, diet, as we in the Western society have come to know it, is a thing. It is a suffrage, okay? We've come to know it as something that is a controlling thing, something that we do to make ourselves suffer. And it is the D word has, the D word is almost a cuss word these days. So the word diet originally, it was like dieteta. It meant simply the foods we eat. what we eat, how we forage, how we consume it, what our diet is, the wonderful foods that we eat. We have changed that into a really bad word. And so diet, as I use it, is what is your lifestyle? What are the foods you eat and love in your lifestyle? So it's just a compilation of what are the wonderful foods we use and eat as a lifestyle, not as a suffrage, not as a a ball and chain,
Yeah.
and something that we do occasionally with a goal, usually not a really great goal, but a goal too. But as our just the foods we eat, just a
Yeah.
lifestyle.
So the foods we eat is another thing that I'm passionate about. And my husband and I, over the last few years, have started trying 80% of the time, I will say, to eat fresh foods. So we buy the fresh foods at the grocery store. One of the things in the book, and this is early on, it's on page 31, is where it says whole foods are not created in a laboratory. And the concept of whole foods, of course, everyone's now going to think of the grocery chain. But I like the way you write here. They generally do not come in a box with a long list of ingredients on the side. They don't have to be organic. That was interesting. Locally grown or free from pesticides. They are simply complete foods without adding anything to them.
Exactly. If you think of a whole food, we might think of orange juice as a whole food. Oh my gosh, a organic, beautiful, wonderful, fresh squeezed juice of an orange. That's not a whole food. The orange is a whole food. It is the pulp, it's the outer peel, it's the juice inside. That's a whole food. Actually, a glass of orange juice, no matter how you rate it, is not a whole food. So just the definition of the whole food: a whole potato, a whole carrot, a whole orange, not the juice of, but a whole orange. That's a whole food.
I really was fascinated by that. So let's talk a little bit about your journey into this and how you came to become this intuitive eating coach. And some of the stories in the book are just wonderful because we get to experience or read about people who have similar aches and pains or other issues. And I like the way they describe the food codes. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about that, but I want people to get the book and go to your site. Your journey here wasn't like one day you saw an article online and said, "Oh, food codes or food as opposed to whole food as opposed to teaching people to go on this kind of diet or that." What was the journey? That's where I'm going. Is tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. My journey, I was raised, as most of us were, on more whole foods. Actually, we ate from the garden, we ate from the, so we weren't, some generations now are raised on not even knowing where an egg came from or knowing, where the milk came from out of the carton, etc. But my journey was, I was always just a healthy, strapping healthy kid. I was out riding horses and, digging in the dirt, doing trucks when I was a kid and stuff. But, I was Zooming with my brothers instead of playing dolls. But as I grew up, I was always very, very healthy. And as a young mom, I got married early. I had all these little children. By the time I was in my early 30s, I had 6 little children. I also was a partner in a dental lab about that time. And my one morning, as I was out delivering dentures, I was rear-ended by a semi-truck in my small car. There was an accident ahead of me. I slowed down. The big truck behind me did not and slammed into the back of me. That put me into an ambulance ride to the hospital, head, neck, shoulder injury, whiplash, and for the next 10 years, I suffered with extreme pain. Headaches 24/7, And I was looking for anything to get me out of pain and out of this suffering. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and they said, well, we'll see if we can manage your pain. One of the neurologists that I saw at the time, it was about my third neurologist, he said, I think you should see a chiropractor with the neck pain. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. So I did. My mother had seen a chiropractor when I was a little girl. And he did help me with some of the neck pain, and the headaches sometimes were better. And so then I started really looking into a holistic. And now this was in the 80s, okay? Juicing was not in the forefront. Juicing was weird. You did not juice. I didn't know what a juicer was. I had a weird friend who had a juicer. And so I borrowed her. She made her own bread and ground her own wheat. And I didn't at that time. I was a good cook and, cooked with foods of the day. But so I borrowed her juicer and started juicing. Wham! I juiced a whole head of cabbage. I drank back the juice. I had this little book. There was no internet at that time. And it said 4 gut problems, which I was having. It had developed into some severe gut problems. So I was having trouble eating food without pain. Take cloves of garlic and this juice from cabbage. So glug and chew. Woo, what an experience. Don't ever do that. So I jumped into it. I dove in it head first from that high dive. And gently, if you're going to change your diet, do it gently. But anyway, that was my dive into juicing. So then I looked into other methods, but at the time I started eating better. I researched books and so on. And I said to my friend one day, I should marry a chiropractor. I'm seeing one 3 times a week. And lo and behold, it was not long after that, I actually was set up on a blind date with a chiropractor. That 5 years, my friends and family and his friends and family had been trying to get us together, unbeknownst kind of to us, but we finally met from a third party who didn't know that these other people had tried to get us together. We are sitting in the back of a van going to like a high school dance with kids as our blind date. And I'm going, he says, what do you do? And I said, well, I own a dental lab. And I said, what do you do? He goes, I'm a chiropractor. And we went, you're the one that they've been trying to set us up. Well, that is where my journey with muscle testing and even deeper into holistic medicine, into energy medicine. He was a chiropractor. He used muscle testing in his, and it's well known now. It was weird at that time, okay, to a lot of people, not so now, but he tested some of my nutrition. I was taking large amounts of vitamin B12. And he goes, no, that's not working for you to help you. I was not taking the right kind of vitamin B12. He tested through muscle testing, which we can talk about. But so then we were married about a year later. And actually 2 weeks after I met Dr. Bruce Nelson, and he used his wonderful technique with me and tested nutrition, I had complete range of motion in my head, neck, and shoulders, which had been mostly frozen. I was out of pain and doing so well. So fast forward that, we were married. That's when we joined 6 kids and 6, and he had 6 children. I had 6. We joined forces. Anyway, it's a fabulous story. He adopted all my kids eventually, but how I developed the food codes. He had very sick patients coming to him from all over, US and Canada mostly, and some other country at that time. But I said, you have a lot of the protocol to help the person's body heal with what you do. We need to bring food in as a component. So I tested each of the patients through muscle testing to find out what their perfect healing foods were. That fast forward to today, people kept saying, you need to write a book about this. And because I was doing a lot of food code programs testing for, let's say, for different things. a person has a condition or disease, and what are their best healing foods? Or you want to run a marathon, and what are your best foods for that? So that, in a real big nutshell, is kind of what brought me here. And I eventually just wrote the book. So, and teaching you how you can do it yourself.
So fascinating. But also, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, you know, the universe will not be denied. The universe said this woman and this man need to meet, and they need to, you know, come together and build and create this wonderful thing to share. I think that's clearly what we are about as human beings, is to share and help and foster whatever wonderful things and gifts that we have, so we can share them with other people. And this was your gift. And I think from the book, so talk a little bit about the book, because I can totally, and I think I tell a lot of women they should write a book. I think talented women should be sharing their gifts and
So
their,
true.
I think it's something that we all should think about doing, because people still read books, number one.
They do love books.
And people do want that DIY option. It isn't always going to work, but it's good to give people that foundation. And that's kind of what I think there is. This is, you have instructed us, and I'm eager to start experimenting with it. But the book also opens our eyes to this whole diet. Can I say baloney?
Yeah.
Because every time I see that famous TV movie or famous star on TV hawking her diet plan, it just makes me feel like, I guess you can do that. I guess you can buy into that and maybe lose 30 pounds, but do you have to eat that food forever to keep it off? How is that going to affect your lifestyle? Talk about how diet and food codes and your testing, how that is a way of life and a way of invigorating your life.
Well, how that works is through muscle testing, it develops your intuition. Now, muscle testing is like a lie detector test. You can ask your body what your best foods are. Instead of reading this book or that book, which says, eat this, and this book says, oh, never eat that. That's going to kill you. And then another person says, oh, no, eat that. It will kill you. No, your body knows exactly what your best foods are, and they will change. If you've ever tried a diet and it worked for you for a little bit, and then, you lost weight or you felt better or something like that, you got a little healthier, and then you don't do that diet again, and you think, oh, I need to get back on that, and it doesn't do the same thing. Well, your body changes over time, over stress. So you're ever changing. So your inner knower, if you even think about when the seasons change, in the summertime, you're wanting, or a hot season, you're wanting different foods than you are in the wintertime. That is your inner knower telling you, this is what I need at this time. So you can learn to know. And also, it is about stop judging food. Okay, we're judging everything these days. We judge a piece of cake and it's like, oh, I shouldn't eat that. It's so bad for me. Well, tell yourself it's bad for you. Bye, Georgie. It's gonna be bad for you. Stop judging food. Eat some of that food that you really desire. If you, for instance, eat a piece of cake that you say, this is the best thing for me right now, I really want it, you'll actually eat less. You'll be satisfied sooner, and you'll stop craving it. You've stopped judging it. You've stopped making it a no-no. And I could have a piece of cake anytime I want. I rarely have cake, okay? Because I don't want it as much if it's not a forbidden thing. But to your inner knower, your subconscious mind, and muscle testing helps you to begin to know that. And as you eat the foods that are better for you, you will eat less You will have no cravings. If you do have a craving, it's usually for something that you are needing. Go ahead and eat that. So in a nutshell, and I teach you in my book, you will learn how, if you've never even heard of muscle testing before,
Yeah.
gosh, I give you such an easy program, pictures and,
Step-by-step guide. Yep.
busting through concepts and so forth. Just really an easy step-by-step guide. And people that I've heard them say, oh, I never got muscle testing before, but the way you explained it and how you did it in your book, it was easy. And then if you've never cooked before, so whole foods are scary for people these days. Really scary. What do I do with this potato? What do I do with this bunch of celery here? I don't know. It's too tough to eat. Chew. Oh my gosh, I show you how to use your foods for you, how to use your family will test for different foods, how you can get a big group together, like I do all the time, and satisfy everybody's needs. Whether they say they are, I only eat this, or my best foods are that, how you can feed a family, how you can feed yourself, and how to get through your blocks if you've never even cooked before. So how you can put your own recipes together. So I give you recipe templates, and I know we don't have enough time to go into all that, but it's really a complete book you'll want to keep in your kitchen.
Absolutely. And I really love the way the book focuses on the fact that we have a relationship with food.
Yes.
It isn't just we consume it because we've been taught, you talk about this, it's breakfast, it's lunch, and it's dinner. And so this is what you eat for breakfast, this is what you eat for lunch, and this is what you eat for dinner. It's so much more than that. And yes. I love the way you talk about how it can really improve your entire life, because how you feel and how your body recognizing what's bothering you in your body or whatever, headaches people have, I mean, that's so vital to having a happy life.
Yes. And you mentioned relationship. A newborn baby, its first relationship with food is mother's milk, often put to the breast. And then if you try to feed a baby something that it doesn't need or want at that time, it's going to spit it out. So a little baby in a high chair, and think about how they will pick up a cracker and it's like, curiosity, what's the feel, what's the taste? They'll taste it and it's like, do I like that or not? And you can't overfeed them. They know when they're full. They know when they cry or want when they're hungry. My book actually helps you to get back to that relationship. Your absolute first relationship was not with anything else but food, and it started inside your mother's womb. So getting back to that love in ourselves, that relationship with food, where we don't diet anymore, where we don't hate or be afraid of it. It's a love story.
I love it. I love it. Before we sign off, we're coming to the end here. Talk about the title, The Food Codes. Talk about how that came to be.
Well, the food codes, it was named a couple of different names. And then speaking with my publisher, we got to talking about that. And then in writing, I was looking at DNA. Okay. And each of us, and the DNA of a banana, so to speak, and a fruit fly, very close. A fruit fly and a banana, the DNA very close to us.
Weird.
And I thought, each food has its own DNA code. Okay, the DNA code. And so each food has its own frequency or code, and that's basically how the food codes came along. And then intuitive eating for every body, BODY, and that's what we're doing, and that's what I'm teaching in there. Right, so every food having its own code or frequency.
It's everybody, folks, not everybody. Everybody, because it's so relevant to, and let's just put out there before we have to go, that when you're talking about everybody, it's also this up here. That's part of your body, folks. And how
Yes.
this helps you with the food codes and to learn the muscle testing. And that's, I mean, that's why it's there, folks.
Yeah, it's easy. Our intuition tells us muscle testing is just a little helper to help us know. And as you use it, your intuition gets so much better. People will say, "Oh, I reached for this food, and when my inner knower said, no, no, not that right now. It's this is what I need, or I don't really want anything right now." So your inner knower is always with you, and it will teach you. You'll get that back as you learn, like you did when you were a small child.
I really like that. And I think it can help also when those of us who are mothers look back on our kids and they didn't want to eat this or didn't want to eat that.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't have tried to make them eat it.
I see that with my grandkids and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, kids. I made you clean your plate. I might have groomed you into different things, but we're unlearning those things,
Yes,
okay?" And
yes,
I give you actually some energy techniques in the book to help you unlearn and get rid of that stuff.
yes, yes. I'm reading about those also. Well, Lana, this has been so fascinating and so important. I really want my ladies to understand that we talk about writing books here and it's Smart Women Conversations in business, but business, writing books, whatever you're doing in your life, you need to be healthy. You need to get up in the morning and feel confident that you can get through the day without any pain or any worries. And I think this book will help you at the grocery store. I mean, I'm looking at it, and you had a story in here about a woman watching you at the grocery store, and how you talk to her. That they've got to read about that, and the story. There's a bigger story about Lana Nelson, folks, but you need to read it in the book. So, Lana, this has been fantastic. And I definitely want to have you back so we can talk a little bit further about food codes and health and how we can change, how you're going to help us relearn, not even relearn, I mean, to get rid of those.
Remember, yeah,
Yes,
get rid of the junk that we've been groomed to do.
and
Have
remember.
more freedom and feel better in our body, in our skin.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen watching, this is a book for you to get today. I will share all of that information on YouTube and on the blog. So tune in. This was Yvonne DeVita at Smart Women Conversations, and my guest, Lana Nelson, author of The Food Codes. Thanks, Lana.
Thank you, Yvonne. You can go to my website if you like and get any information there. Thank you very much.